All right. Hey, music therapy friends. David McCauley here. I wanted to show a couple adaptive devices to you and show you how I played slide guitar. First and foremost, I have this adaptive pick. I believe it's called the shark tooth. It's actually glued to a piece of elastic that has Velcro, so I can seal it in one of two ways. I like using it on my middle finger. I'm quadriplegic, so I don't have that great of a pinch between my two fingers. The other adaptive device, if I can grab it here, is a nut extender for this part of the guitar here. So what this is just a piece of metal that's going to raise the string action off the nut, so the frets aren't going to get in the way. So it's what I'm showing you is a adaptive acoustic guitar. You don't need this piece if you have a proper lap stick, which is kind of like over here off frame. I'll show that later. Okay. All right, and then the most important part is this device, which I sent to your music therapist at your hospital rehabilitation facility. So what this does is enable you to hold a guitar slide. I'm a C6 quad, so I have really horrible finger dexterity. So what you do here is put your middle finger into the hole, right? And then I like to have it almost perpendicular to my hand, if you can see that. So I start with it just like that. And then in the back, there is this curvature, right? So what I'm gonna do is really jam my middle finger in there and then wrap my thumb. Sometimes I have to use my chin to get them in place, all the way through that little curvature area. So now I've got this dense thing in my hand, but I've got a pretty good grip on it. So that gives me the ability to slide up and down the neck. Now I'm going to reverse a little bit to get a little bit more guitar into the video. So I tune my slide guitar to open G tuning. And I know there's two tunings for open G. I use the open G alternative. So it's G, B, D, and then that same thing in succession, one octave higher. So then again, G, B, D. Okay, so again, that's G, B, D, G, B, D. Okay, so now that you have the string action raised and your adaptive devices on your hands, you can strum an open chord, and that's going to be G. Okay? Now you go to the second fret of the guitar, and that's going to start your chord structure. So because open is G, it'll be one whole step. So second fret, and that's going to be A. It's going to be all major chords, okay? All right? Then you go one full step, so that means two frets. Then that's going to be B. All right? And then a half step, which is going to be where your marker is here. And this is going to be your first chord that is actually marked on the guitar neck. And that's going to be C. Okay? One more full step to the next marker. It's going to be D. Another full step to the next marker on your guitar neck. That's going to be E. And then a half step. It's going to be F. Let me hit that one again. Okay? And then one full step, and that's going to be the large marker in your guitar neck if you're playing with the typical full-length guitar. So that's G. So that's one entire octave of major chords, which gives you really a lot to play with. Now you can start there where I ended and have with this G and start all over again and really get up to some higher chords here. So one full step from that G is going to be A, another full step B, half step C, full step D, and that's pretty much the end of the neck on my guitar. So it's really a lot to play with. For beginners, I would just start shuffling between two chords. C and D, or D and E are two very easy ones. This is going to be C. So I think an important thing to know using slide is if you're doing normal chord structures in between these frets, you're probably putting your finger somewhere in the middle of the fret or slightly towards the leading fret, the front fret. And I find, and you can hear it with the slide and move it up or down if you don't think it's like perfectly in pitch or tune. Right? But I find having the slide, and it has to be parallel to the frets here, towards the front fret. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's not in the middle between the two frets. It's definitely towards the leading fret. I don't know if you can see that great there, but that's where the placement is. But you know, that's all subject to your guitar and your ear and what you want it to sound like. But I always find it's going to sound best towards that leading fret, just like that. Okay, so those two that we were doing before is C and D. So that's pretty much it, and then you get a whole octave of major chords. Unfortunately it's a little bit more of a challenge and requires a bit more dexterity to do minors with a slide guitar. You have to kind of hit it at an angle. It's called a bend, and then you have to pluck specific strings. So if your right hand dexterity is poor like mine, I usually just go for the full strum. But over time, and if you do develop more dexterity, and it might feel like in the beginning you're not going to, you will get a bit more astute at plucking individual strings. To me, I thought it was going to never ever happen, but over time you kind of learn, like 1 3 1 1 3 1 1 3 1 4 6 6 4 4 6 4 4 6 4. Okay, so don't give up. It's going to take a lot of repetition. It's going to take a lot of practice.